I never thought he whom I had nurtured and brought.
Well, former Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe has publicly opened up about the events that led to his forced resignation for the very first time. The SARS boss Tom Moyane faces a deadline to hand over 2 investigative reports into the tax and questionable money affairs of the Makwakwa to Parliament. Well, more police officers may be arrested or summoned to appear in court in relation with the killings of the 34 mine workers in the Marikana massacre.
And in your sport, the country's fastest man and woman will be decided tonight with the 100-meter finals at the National Track and Field Championships, which got underway in style when Karina Horn broke the 28-year-old South African women's 100-meter record.
Coming to you live from Johannesburg, this is Newsroom. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Shante Yankees. Also ahead, coming up, we pick the brain of veteran struggle icon advocate George Bizos on the issues of the day. That will be just after 9:15, as well as news from the continent. And not alone, Valen Kirtley is standing by with all your sporting updates. Very happy Friday to you, Valen. Looking forward to that track event tonight.
Certainly are, and there's so much sport to look forward to this weekend, and we're going to set you up right here on Newsroom when we bring you our sports updates at around 1/4 every single hour. Otherwise, we're going to be bringing you sport headlines just past 1/2. Here's Shante with your lead story.
Well, leading at 9 o'clock, former Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe says the current admin of Emerson Mnangagwa is illegal. Mugabe spoke for the very first time to the media about his military-backed removal from office last year.
I don't hate Emerson. I brought him into government. I would want to work with him, but he must be proper. He is improper where he is. Illegal. And if it is to correct that illegality that he would want me to discuss with him, I'm willing. We must undo this disgrace which we have imposed on ourselves. We don't deserve it. We don't deserve it. Please, we don't deserve it. Zimbabwe doesn't deserve it. We want to be a constitutional country. Yes, we may have our shortcomings here and there, but overall, we must obey the law.
Well, we will be bringing you that full interview of Robert Mugabe speaking for the very first time in our 11 a.m. bulletin this morning. Moving on, SARS boss Tom Moyane faces a deadline today to hand over 2 investigative reports into the tax and questionable money affairs of Makwakwa to Parliament. Well, SARS top tax official Jonas Makwakwa resigned on Tuesday. SARS Commissioner Tom Moyane made the announcement at a media briefing in Pretoria. Makwakwa is alleged to have misled SARS with regards to declarations of the interest in the appointment of the National Integrated Credit Solutions as one of 8 debt collectors to recover debt owed to SARS. Makwakwa was suspended on money laundering allegations and then controversially reinstated last year. Makwakwa faces allegations of impropriety in selection and the appointments of the Credit Solutions Company, NICS, and the FIC report also earlier pointed to corrupt activities between NICS and Makwakwa, resulting in illegal payments of up to 400,000 rand to Makwakwa. Well, the Gauteng Health Department says the strike by the state mortuary workers has ended. Well, workers went on strike last week demanding that they be trained as pathologists. Yesterday, the strike was called off after the Labour Court in Johannesburg ordered that the matter be referred to the Bargaining Council. The Workers' Union now has confirmed they have called off the strike. The Germiston State Mortuary on Gauteng's East Rand is the most affected by the strike, with a backlog of more than 60 bodies that needed post-mortems to be done. Limpopo police have released the name of a 5-year-old grade R learner who died after being electrocuted at the Mucha Primary School outside Toyondo. She is Vutuawe Madala. Police say that she was electrocuted after stepping on an electric cable on the school premises on Wednesday. Well, several years ago, another 5-year-old Michael Komape died after falling into a pit latrine at a Limpopo school. Well, the name is released 2 days after the Bishu High Court reserved judgment until the end of May, Wednesday, in the matter between the NGO Equal Education and the Basic Education Department. The body is asking the court to eliminate loopholes in school infrastructure law that make it easy for the department to escape certain responsibilities. Its court action was prompted after another school tragedy where a 5-year-old grade R learner later died after falling in a pit at the Luna Primary School in Bizana in the Eastern Cape. The Department of Basic Education said on Thursday that it was doing everything in its capacity to address backlogs timelessly by prioritizing unsafe structures and those without decent sanitation, water and electricity. Well, more police officers may be arrested or summoned to appear in court in relation with the killings of 34 mine workers in Marikana in the northwest on the 16th of August in 2012. Well, the Independent Police Investigative Directorate, IPID, says a decision in this regard is still outstanding. Well, former Provincial Deputy Police Commissioner General William Mugabe appeared yesterday in the Rustenburg Magistrates Court for the killings that happened on the 13th of August. NPA Provincial Spokesperson Frank Lesenyejo says that more charges may be added. Well, the situation is reported to be calm in Eshowe on the KZN North Coast after residents burnt down a farmhouse and 3 sugarcane farms. Well, this comes after a security guard working the farm allegedly shot and killed a 30-year-old man on Wednesday. An Umlazi Ward 9 councillor says the victim and another man had been fishing illegally in the farm's dam when 2 security guards patrolling the area fired shots in the direction of the 2 men. Well, locals then went on the rampage and burnt the farms and the house in an apparent act of revenge. They also confiscated a truck from a motorist and used it to block the busy R66. Let's take a short break here on SABC's Newsroom. Do stay tuned.
The Western Cape needs national government to fulfill its mandate on ensuring a bulk water supply.
We must ensure that the city of Cape Town never confronts this particular situation again.
The ESCOM is serious about stamping out corruption, which is why the market is now beginning to accommodate us.
Looking at neighboring countries, expecting Botswana just to see partly cloudy skies with a high of 34 in Gaborone.
News today at 3 p.m. from Monday to Friday on SABC News.
SABCnews.com is your one-stop digital portal to all the news you need. With a website that is easy to use on mobile, SABC News prides itself in being the primary source of public service content across multiple platforms. Watch live streams of all the big news events on the SABC News YouTube channel, which is one of the most viewed South African YouTube channels globally. And catch up on the best of SABC television and radio news. Follow breaking news on all of the SABC News social media platforms, interact with SABC News on Facebook, and stay connected on Twitter for the latest headlines and real-time updates by our reporters. SABC News, everywhere.
Welcome back. Well, another Sangoma has been arrested at Emalahleni in Mpumalanga for allegedly killing a person for Muti purposes. Hezekiel Khoza appeared in the Witbank Magistrates Court yesterday after he was found in possession of human body parts. It's reported the victim was a 65-year-old white woman who was kidnapped from her farm.
Another alleged Muti killing in Witbank. A mutilated body of a woman found here. Police were led to this mealie field by 2 suspects.
This case is appearing as if it's the same like the albinism case that we are busy with here at Witbank.
The family says it's shattered.
It was a gruesome death. And like what my dear friend was saying, that if government could just do something to protect women and children, anybody, for that matter, so that we can all live together.
Members of the Mpumalanga legislature visited the family.
We want to elevate this issue to government, where we are going to organize debates in the legislature and also to make laws that will make sure that our people are protected, and also to engage with national parliament.
The 2 accused briefly appeared in court and are charged with possession of body parts. The woman's body was found with missing body parts. She is believed to have been used for Muti. Sibongile Mkani Mpolweni, SABC News, outside of Witbank in Mpumalanga.
Well, a recent attack on a German couple while hiking at Sandpark's Brown Hooded Trail at the Wilderness on the Garden Route has many visitors worried. The couple was robbed of jewellery, cameras and cell phones. With the annual Garden Route Walking Festival approaching, Sandparks has assured visitors that they will be safe.
The Sandparks Brown Hooded Trail in Wilderness, a popular tourist attraction. The annual walking festival is fast approaching and thousands will descend here for a fun walk over the Easter weekend. Over 40 hiking trails will be open to the public. For these visitors, personal safety comes first.
Yes, we felt safe on all these trips. Yeah, and this was, for me, the easiest trip. We walked. The other one were bit more stronger for us.
Sandpark says it will carry out more patrols in the area.
We're very concerned about an incident that happened here on this trail where 2 people from Germany were mugged. And we had a meeting then this morning to workshop what is it that we can do differently with the resources that we have.
Security has also been beefed up in other parks around the Western Cape, including Table Mountain National Park in Cape Town. Parks such as these are also critical for the preservation of natural forests and fynbos.
We are custodians of 22 parks around the country, beautiful conservation areas, which is nothing without people. We do conservation so that tourists can come and enjoy what we conserve.
Adventure and nature lovers are encouraged to take part in the Garden Route Walking Festival from the 30th of March. Segwi Chetty, SABC News, Wilderness.
Our Bill of Rights is the cornerstone of democracy. It enshrines the rights of all people in our country and affirms the democratic values of human dignity. SABC News celebrates Human Rights Month in the year of Madiba. #Know Your Rights. Our stories.
How do I begin?
Our lives. When all seems to fail, we will raise our voices a bit louder for our justice.
I went into absolute shock. My whole body was shaky. I couldn't hold a phone, but there he was. I couldn't believe the nonchalant that they were still in the area 2 weeks later.
And in times when the justice system is not able to help us with our individual battles,
I'm willing to do anything.
What are you doing? Nothing. Feeling sorry for yourself? No, it's not an option.
These are our stories on Cutting Edge Channel 404.
Technology is used for both positive and negative.
Some governments block the internet in times of protest.
With this internet blackout, it's impossible for me to do it, so I have to travel to Douala
This act is a true violation of the rights of citizens.
In Africa, people are always coming up with innovative ways to use technology to solve some of their problems.
The more interesting piece of technology is actually the artificial intelligence.
AI, it's utilizing data to make your life easier.
Our network will give you Africa's technology and social media news.
For all your technology news, join Siphumelele Zondi every Saturday at 17:30.
Well, President Cyril Ramaphosa will continue with his whirlwind tour of the SADC region again this weekend. International Relations and Cooperation Minister Lindiwe Sisulu is demanding that Australia retract comments on South Africa's land reform process. The African Peer Review Mechanism has held celebrations to mark its 15th anniversary. The African Peer Review Mechanism has held celebrations to mark its 15th anniversary. During the event in the Rwandan capital, Kigali, Rwanda's Foreign Affairs Minister urged countries that have not ascended to the self-governance instruments to do so, adding that good governance drives transformation.
Song and dance as Rwandese traditional dancers set the pace for the APRM's 15th anniversary. Away from the fanfare, it was time to look inward. Has the APRM delivered on its mandate?
Imagine what if it wasn't there. I mean, then there will be no mechanism that is our own, homegrown, that is based on self-assessment, but also peer review. I think the growth in the membership is an indication, because from 11 in 2003 to 37 now, if it wasn't of value, members will not, more countries will not subscribe to it.
We really have to do more work on improving the quality of our members. So when you are a member, you take responsibility, you implement your obligations. So I think really for me, this is the key message that has come out of these 15-year celebrations.
Countries that have acceded to the APRM say it has helped them to set themselves ambitious goals on good governance.
We wanted to measure good governance, but not just that. We also wanted to benchmark our standards against those of our brothers and sisters on the continent, as well as against international standards inherent in the APRM mechanism.
Challenges, however, remain. The continent still suffers a governance and leadership crisis evident in the number of conflicts in Africa, which has spurred a migration crisis. Sarah Kimani, SABC News, Rwanda.
Well, the SADC mission in Lesotho has recalled 5 military officers for unbecoming military conduct. The head of SADC's preventative mission in Lesotho, Matthias Machondo, says that this is in line with high peacekeeping mission standards and principles.
Within our own internal processes, we identified 5 elements within our contingents whose behavior did not uphold the hallmark of what is required of them. There are 5 of them, and there have been measures have been taken against those people to redress their malpractice and to make sure that their behavior is not replicated across the board within SAPMIL. This is what we did, but we didn't do it to impress anybody, not to send any message to anybody. We did it because we want to maintain our discipline, to maintain the type of attitude and behavior that is expected of this kind of mission.
Meanwhile, the Lesotho Defence Force has returned the arms cache confiscated on the 30th August 2014. This saw Lesotho Prime Minister Tom Thabane skip the country to neighboring South Africa in what he described as an event that bore the hallmarks of an attempted coup.
We have decided to hold this press brief to invite you, bear witness as we mark the official handing over of weapons and ammunition that were held during the 2014 instability. Those were very unfortunate incidences that we wholeheartedly regret as we bear witness of our new journey we are starting towards peace and reconciliation.
And we promise that during our tenure, what happened in the past, in 2014 and in other years coming, will never happen again. Our people need peace, and peace can only be a possibility if the Lesotho Defence Force and the Lesotho Mounted Police Service are working together.
The events of the 30th August 2014 destabilized Lesotho. This led to the assassination of a police constable. Shortly afterwards, 2 army commanders were assassinated by their junior officers. Many civilians were arrested, tortured, and some killed. It was the swift SADC facilitation process that saw the restoration of peace, and today marks an important landmark in an effort to bridge a gap between the 2 rival factions of police and military. Rapelang Khatebe, SABC News, Masero, Lesotho.
Well, President Cyril Ramaphosa will continue with his whirlwind tour of the SADC region again this weekend. The visit forms part of a long-standing tradition in the SADC region, whereby newly elected heads of state pay courtesy calls to the neighbouring countries. Well, since taking over as the President of South Africa last month, President Ramaphosa has embarked on a tour of some countries in the SADC region. This is a customary in the region whereby newly elected heads of state pay courtesy calls on their regional peers. During his visits in both countries, the President will discuss bilateral cooperation as well as issues of peace and security in the region, the continent and the globe. He will be accompanied by Minister of International Relations and Cooperation Lindiwe Sisulu and State Security Minister Dipiyo Letsatsi Duba. Well, Minister of International Relations and Cooperation Lindiwe Sisulu has issued a diplomatic warning to the Australian High Commissioner in the country, Adam McCarthy, over comments made on the land redistribution process. Australian Home Affairs Minister Peter Dutton was quoted as saying his department was looking into methods that would facilitate the fast tracking of visas for white South African farmers who want to relocate to the country. He also said South African white farmers deserve special attention. Minister Sisulu says government is offended and a full retraction is expected. Some news abroad, thousands of Brazilians poured onto the streets of Rio de Janeiro and Sao Paulo on Thursday to protest the killing of a Rio Council woman who was an outspoken critic of police killings. Marielle Franco, a rising star in the Socialism and Liberty Party, was killed along with her driver on Rio's dangerous north side on Wednesday night. Her press secretary survived the shooting. Just weeks ago, the federal government decreed that Brazil's army would take over all security operations through the end of the year in Rio, where murders have risen sharply. Franco, part of a commission to oversee the military intervention, had harshly criticized the move, saying it could worsen police violence against residents. Political violence is common in Brazil, but typically in more impoverished cities. In Rio's City Council building, where Franco's body briefly lay in state, vigils and protests had been planned. The United Nations office in Brazil and Amnesty International demanded a quick, transparent investigation into Franco's killing. Back home, for the past 3 decades, it's enthralled audiences. The annual Dance Umbrella Festival will again unleash hidden gems. This as local and international dancers use the platform to showcase new dance forms.
A journey from past to present. A signature piece. The more than 2-decade-old ensemble saw the advent of the popular dance genre Afrofusion.
When they speak about Afrofusion, they speak about this way. This is where Afrofusion was established, or was developed. So going back into performing this work is more of finding a new self and a new interpretation of Afrofusion.
It also won Best Choreography and hopes to captivate audiences again.
And it's a beautiful work in terms of the concentration and the kind of buntu of the dancers on stage. Yeah, I mean, you've seen how it is. It's just, it's emotionally charged. It's beautiful.
An opportunity to add their own pizzazz.
You actually absolutely need a ceremony or a ritual that will help you actually to grow or to stay connected with what your purpose is as a creative person.
For these dancers, a purpose which starts here. Gillian Pillay, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Yeah, I may have to refer to... Thank you.
When life takes a different turn.
If I didn't eat the speak, he was going to evict me.
Your will to persevere is ignited.
I'm not a professional speaker, but I'll try my best to give you a word of inspiration.
He was just trying to provide for his family.
If you can't accept it, change it. If you cannot change it, accept it.
And a new story begins.
Made a resolve to myself. I'm learning something new.
Bupilong, every Friday at 5:30. Be part of the life-changing journey.
Well, on Wednesday, the country will celebrate Human Rights Day under the theme, You Don't Choose Your Family. They are God's gift to you as you are to them. Well, the recent smooth transition of power between former President Jacob Zuma and President Cyril Ramaphosa has once again reaffirmed South Africa's position as a beacon of political stability and observer of law in the continent. However, issues such as the recent motion supporting land expropriation without compensation has become a subject of a much heated debate. With the issues being racialized and now also making international news, I have the pleasure of sitting today with a reverend human rights lawyer and anti-apartheid activist, Advocate George Bizos, to talk about the state of the country somewhat. Very good morning to you, Mr. Bizos. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for asking me to speak to you.
Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Are you keeping well?
Thank you.
All right. Firstly, let's just discuss Human Rights Day. Comes up on the 21st of March. Essentially, what does that day mean to you?
Well, from my university days, at least, fundamental human rights were part and parcel of the people of the world should really go for. I am a refugee.
Mm-hmm.
I was treated properly by South Africans even though my speeches at Wits University prevented my getting South African citizenship for over 30 years. But eventually they gave in.
They gave in.
I did political cases from 1954 to date. I haven't retired.
Yeah, you're still keeping strong in your 90s, Mr. Bizos.
There is unfinished business with the people who were killed by the security police during the apartheid years, and the magistrates exonerated them. I have written a book, No One to Blame, ? But we have now recently succeeded in showing that the no one to blame for Tibble was false. He was really thrown out of a 10th floor window, and we proved that at the end of last year.
Congratulations.
And there are about 60 other cases of a similar nature. I'm working at the Legal Resources Center. I'm the old man, not very good with computers, but I'm surrounded by very clever young people like you, who I speak about what I remember, and they play up and bring it up on the computers, which I find that's something that, whilst I can, I have to continue the job that I started.
Definitely. I think that you have a lot of knowledge, though. You probably have more knowledge, or more or less the same as a computer. In terms of a country right now, how do you think South Africa is honouring human rights, if any?
I am concerned about the statements that, particularly in relation to the ownership of land, together with Arthur Chaskelson and others, I took part in the writing of the Constitution.
Yes.
Nelson Mandela made a great contribution in relation to the democratic South Africa of the future. Even when he was an attorney and not done well by the authorities, even whilst he was a prisoner, even whilst he, after his release, played an important role in writing this Constitution. And he has written, he spoke from the dock. He over and over again spoke after his release that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, black and white, and we must form a democratic state. I am concerned about the present attempt to say that Nelson Mandela let the black people of the country down. I think, having been his friend and having written a book, 65 years of friendship with Nelson Mandela, that an injustice is being done to him, this minority, who says that he let the black people down. There are two sections in this Constitution, in paragraph 25 and 74, which actually deals with the distribution of land to everyone in South Africa. It sets out in about 20 sub-paragraphs what steps were to be taken by the people that took over in 1994. And to the two particularly sections, 25 and 74. The people who say that Nelson Mandela let any section of the population down by agreeing to this constitution do not really know what he did, what the constitution says, and how this constitution was adopted by Parliament with only 2 against and 12 abstentions. The 400 odd others agreed to abide by it. And I am concerned all the pressure, presumably, that has been put on Mr. Ramaphosa to say that steps must be taken. I am sure that South Africa as a whole will honor the Constitution as a whole. South Africa belongs to all who live in it.
South Africa belongs to all who live in it. Indeed, that's so beautiful, Mr. Bizos. Just before we wrap it up, of course, this year is going to be, this year marks the 100th centenary of your dear friend Nelson Mandela. How, in honouring Human Rights Day coming next week, do you think that Madiba should be remembered?
We should never forget him. I met him when he sought me out because I made a speech at the Wits University in 1948. We became friends. He as a lawyer and I as an advocate with many cases together. I acted for him, the members of the African National Congress and other political organizations. I thought that it was my duty, together with others, to do the right thing for the people who fought for democracy in South Africa. Mandela was amongst all of them. I am a Greek refugee. Mandela and I went to Greece with our wives after his release.
Yeah.
And he actually spoke to the Greek Parliament and said, Greece is the mother of democracy. I wish South Africa to be among its foremost daughters. And I can't forget that. And I defend what he stood for. And I am sure that the vast majority of South Africa will believe what the Constitution said and what I have included in the third book that I have written, particularly 65 years of friendship.
Yeah. And your face still lights up as you talk about Mr. Madiba. Your face still lights up.
He was a man that you had to respect because of his generosity of spirit. I would visit him on the island. He didn't hate his orders. The first time I went 2 or 3 months after he was sent to Moroccan Island, 8 of them brought him to the office, to the room with a car.
Yeah.
And he introduced me to each one of the 8 by their first name and second name. And because we embraced before, and he wanted to know how Willie was and how the children were, how they get to school. And then he turned and said, George, I'm sorry, I've lost my manners. I have not introduced you to my royal entourage. And he proceeded to introduce each one of them by name and first name and last name, and, you know. And he was a man who believed, before he went to prison, that South Africa belongs to all who live in it. And when he was on trial for treason before 3 judges, one of the judges said, Mr. Mandela, you call for 1 man, 1 vote. You know that we whites are much fewer than you, and we are afraid that we may be sidelined if we do, if we accept 1 man, 1 vote, we will not have any political power.
Yeah.
And his answer was, I can't tell you as a prisoner on trial what may happen. What I want to tell you is what I think. I believe that if fundamental change comes about, it will be better for all of us. He believed in it. He said it over and over again. He was not alone. Millions of people voted for him and his party. And I think that the question of land is a difficult one.
Yeah, it definitely is.
This is why in Section 25 we have 9 sections setting out what the government is expected to do. The government, unfortunately, in the 20-odd years, has done practically nothing in applying what the Constitution voted for by the vast majority of the people of South Africa, black and white. And now they say that he sold out.
Thank you very much for speaking to us this morning, Advocate George Bizos. An absolute honor to be able to talk to you this morning, and also to see your eyes light up as you talk about your dear friend, Mr. Madiba, and also remembering and reminiscing, as well as discussing the importance of Human Rights Day that is coming up in the next week. The 21st of March marks the Human Rights Day here in South Africa. Speaking to Advocate George Bizos, of course, his memories thereof, as well as the issues around land and his views, and the Advocate George Bizos did make reference to the Constitution. We'll take a short break here on SABC Newsroom. When we come back, Vale and Kirtley will have your sports.
Well, thank you very much, Ante. Let's just whet your appetite a little bit after what was an incredibly emotional interview. So thank you very much for that. Let's take a look at those stories we'll be bringing you in our Sports Bulletin.
But for us, 0-0 is a good scoreline. We believe that coming back to our home ground at Lucas Moripi Stadium, it's a place that we're very confident. It's a place that in the CAF tournament last year, we had a lot of big scorelines. We put in a lot of good performances, and we're hoping that we can go and do the same on Friday night.
United are confident they can progress to the CAF to the second round of the competition. They host Pedro Atletico in the second leg of the first round tie today. And Karina Horn is favourite to recapture her national 100-metre crown after finally breaking Yvette de Klerk's 28-year-old South African record. And Kevin Anderson, currently enjoying his career-best world ranking, was surprised by Croatian young gun Borna Koric in the Indian Wells quarterfinals.
SABC is the official broadcaster of the 2018 FIFA World Cup Russia.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with Newsroom. Let's bring you your sports news now, starting with athletics. Stephen Makoka and Dominic Scott-Efford took the first two national titles on offer in the 10,000 metres for men and 5,000 metres for women, respectively, at the ASA Track and Field Championships, which got underway in Pretoria yesterday. A world para-athletics record and a national mark were also betted on day one. Karina Horn finally broke Yvette de Klerk's 28-year-old 100-metre South African record. The 29-year-old clocked 11.03 seconds, improving on the 11.06 second mark she had shared with de Klerk since mid-2015. In the men's sprint, favourite Akani Simbine pulled out as a precaution for a niggling hamstring. Former six-times champion Simon Machakwe, the first South African to break 10 seconds in the 100 metres in 2014, was the second fastest overall in 10.09. Roscoe Engel was the fastest of the semi-finals as he clocked a time of 10.06 seconds, a career best to take pole position for today's final.
Roscoe Engel manages to get it on the line, 10.08. That's in the 100-metre final. Those are the top.
And double Paralympic champion Charles du Toit was the star of the first day when he betted his own world record in 100 metres, running in lane 6 in the mixed para event. He clocked a time of 11.41 seconds, bettering his T37 mark by 0.01 seconds set last year at the Paralympics in Rio. In football, SuperSport United are confident they can progress to the second round of the CAF Confederations Cup. Last year's finalists in the competition failed to score in the first leg of their tie with Pedro Atletico of Angola. Matatansa play the second leg of the tie tonight.
Yeah, we hope so. We would have liked an away goal. We see how big an away goal is in these games. But for us, 0-0 is a good scoreline. We believe that coming back to our home ground at Mortuary Stadium, it's a place that we're very confident. It's a place that in the CAF tournament last year we had a lot of big scorelines. We put in a lot of good performances, and we're hoping that we can go and do the same on Friday night.
That match kicking off at 7 o'clock. There's other South African teams that will be in action when it comes to the CAF Confederations Cup. Cape Town City, they play host to their opponents on a Sunday. That match is due to get underway at 4 p.m. in the mother city. While in the CAF Champions League, it's Wits and Sundowns who will fly the South African flag. Staying with football-related news, the fixtures for the 2017-2018 Nedbank Cup quarterfinals have been finalised. Ubuntu Cape Town, who eliminated 2 Premier Soccer League outfits, is the only club from the lower leagues to reach the last 8. The Cape Town-based club was drawn to play Free State Stars for a place in the semi-finals. Organisers also confirmed that the final of the event will take place in the mother city for the first time since 2003. In league action this weekend, with log leaders Mamelodi Sundowns competing in the CAF Champions League, second on the log Orlando Pirates can close the gap to within just 1 point with a win tomorrow. Maritzburg United are 2 points from third on the log Free State Stars, and they host Polokwane tonight at 8 p.m. at the Harry Gwala Stadium. The Arrows and Pirates game is set to begin at 8:15 tomorrow. Lions flank Franco Mostert will captain his team for tomorrow's Super Rugby match against the Sunwolves in Johannesburg. The Lions are looking to bounce back after suffering a surprising last-minute defeat against New Zealand side, the Blues, last Saturday.
From the word go, there's hurdles ahead of us, and we're not going to, hopefully we clear all the hurdles, but we're not going to, some of them you're going to knock down. We knocked it down. I don't want to go into that discussion, you know, we're focusing now already on Saturday, but it's behind us. So the whole focus is already on the hurdle in front, and it's a team that plays very good rugby, attracting, they're really analysing their game and they run the ball well. So the whole focus is straight away. In fact, we started Monday after 12. It was water under the bridge.
In tennis news, Croatian young gun Borna Coric battled back from 4-2 down in the third set to fell world number 9 Kevin Anderson 2-6, 6-4 and 7-6 in advance to the semi-finals of the BNP Paribas Open at Indian Wells. The upset victory in the California desert means the 21-year-old will play in his first Masters 1000 semi-final against defending champion Roger Federer, who equalled his best start to a season with a 7-5, 6-1 win over Chung Haiyong in the other quarterfinal. The unseeded Coric initially looked outgunned by the big serving South African, who had won all 3 of their previous meetings without dropping a set. After weathering an onslaught of huge serves from Anderson in the first set, however, a scrappy Coric was able to force longer rallies in the second and third, where his speed and accuracy allowed him to control points. The match appeared all but over when a frustrated Coric double faulted to hand Anderson a break for the 4-2 lead in the decisive third set. But the world number 49 broke straight back and went on to force a tiebreaker. Anderson played a mistake-riddled break and Coric pumped his fist in triumph after the 7th seed sent a forehand long to hand the Croatian what is the biggest win of his career. That's how we come to the end of your sport in this hour here on Newsroom. Azwi is standing by to bring you your weather.
Thanks very much and warm welcome. Well, on our satellite image in Madagascar, we're seeing tropical cyclone category 1 Eliakim sitting over the northeastern parts, resulting to lots of rainfall over the northeastern parts, with a warning of flooding to flash flooding and heavy rains expected over the northeastern parts. We will expect more as the tropical cyclone continues to grow. Over the central interior, still seeing lots of moisture, partly cloudy skies. And moving to South Africa, we have an influx of moisture coming in from the tropical regions and the polar regions with that cold front that's sitting over the interior of South Africa, resulting to cold temperatures over the interior of Eastern Cape, moving to KwaZulu-Natal and some parts of Mpumalanga for today. Isolated to scattered thunder showers, still expecting heavy rains over the northern parts of Eastern Cape going to KwaZulu-Natal for today, and along the coastal regions of Madagascar, tropical cyclone Eliakim bringing lots of rainfall over those regions. Over the central interior, up to 60 and 80% chance of thunder showers, possibilities of thunderstorms, so please be very careful. Tomorrow, we're still expecting similar conditions over the central interior, but going to overnight, you can see something severe happening over the interior of Angola, stretching to some parts of Zambia. 80% chance of thunder showers with severe thunderstorms expected. Hailstorm being one of the possibilities and can be extremely dangerous. So please be very careful and make sure you're in a safe area when you see that build-up starting to happen. Over the northern parts, isolated to scattered thunder showers can be expected for tomorrow over South Africa, with cold temperatures expected, and towards the eastern parts of South Africa. Taking a look at your temperatures, we're seeing a maximum of 26 in Bloemfontein, 33 for Pretoria, and Polokwane sitting at 32. Cape Town sunny with a maximum of 22, and this is what it looks like currently in Cape Town. Clear skies and temperatures remaining in the low 20s for today. And in the next coming 5 days, we're not expecting any rainfall. We're just in partly cloudy skies to clear skies. Bulawayo at a maximum of 32, otherwise partly cloudy skies to isolated showers. That is all. Ndawendo.
Special assignment. Crime keeps the society in terror and pain. Why so?
If someone phones me, just phones me, tells me, okay, look, he needs a silver, and I get you all driving, I'll take it.
What pushes normal people to be so hard, heartless, and brutally kill one another?
The other side of it could be more for their own psychological need. It might be part of a sexual fantasy that they have. It could be about power and control.
After proper investigation is followed, the perpetrator gets arrested.
It's quite a massive process. And ultimately, we have criminals, right? I think justice is served.
Emotional scars remain.
We would pay any price to get him back, and the sad reality is that it's gone.
Special assignment. We unravel the truth every Sunday at 21:30.
For your weekly dose of art and entertainment news, tune into Trends every Saturday from 12 to 1.
Former Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe publicly opens up for the very first time about the events that led to his ousting. SARS boss Moyane faces a deadline to hand over 2 investigative reports into the tax and questionable money affairs of Makwakwa to Parliament. More police officers may be arrested or summoned to appear in court in relation with the killings of 34 mine workers in the Marikana massacre.
In sport, the country's fastest man and woman will be decided tonight with 100-meter finals at the National Track and Field Championships, which got underway in style when Karina Horn broke the 28-year-old South African women's 100-meter record.
Coming to you live from Johannesburg, this is Newsroom. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Shante Yankees. Of course, I'm not alone. Valen Kirtley is standing by all your sporting highlights this Friday morning. A very good morning to you. Happy Friday, Valen. A good weekend ahead.
It certainly looks that way,
Yeah.
Starting with this morning's action between the Chiefs and the Bulls. That Super Rugby match is currently underway. It's past half time. So good morning to you, Shante. Good morning to everybody at home. Good to be in your company. We're going to be bringing you athletics news, what to look ahead to when it comes to football, as well as the latest when it comes to Super Rugby. All of that at about 1:45 the hour. Here's Shante with the news story.
Well, leading at 10 o'clock, former Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe says the current admin of Emerson Mnangagwa is illegal. Mugabe spoke for the very first time to the media about his military-backed removal from office last year.
I don't hate Emerson. I brought him into government. I would want to work with him, but he must be proper. He is improper where he is. Illegal. And if it is to correct that illegality that he would want me to discuss with him, I'm willing. We must undo this disgrace which we have imposed on ourselves. We don't deserve it. We don't deserve it. Please, we don't deserve it. Zimbabwe doesn't deserve it. We want to be a constitutional country. Yes, we may have our shortcomings here and there, but overall, we must obey the law.
Well, SARS boss Moyane faces a deadline today to hand over 2 investigative reports into the tax and questionable money affairs of Makwakwa to Parliament. Well, SARS top tax official Jonas Makwakwa resigned on Tuesday. SARS Commissioner Moyane made the announcement at a media briefing in Pretoria. Makwakwa is alleged to have misled SARS with regards to declarations of interest in the appointment of the National Integrated Credit Solutions as one of 8 debt collectors to recover debt owed to SARS. Makwakwa was suspended on money laundering allegations and then controversially reinstated last year. Makwakwa faces allegations of impropriety in the section and selection appointment of the Credit Solutions Company, NICS. The FIC report earlier pointed to corrupt activities between NICS and Makwakwa, resulting in illegal payments of up to 400,000 to Makwakwa. Well, the Gauteng Health Department says the strike by the state mortuary workers has ended. The workers went on strike last week demanding that they be trained as pathologists. Yesterday, the strike was called off after the Labour Court in Johannesburg ordered that the matter be referred to by the Bargaining Council. The Workers' Union AHAU has confirmed they have called off the strike. The Germiston State Mortuary on Gauteng's East Rand is the most affected by the strike, with a backlog of more than 60 bodies that needed post-mortems to be done. While Limpopo police have released a name of a 5-year-old grade R learner who died after being electrocuted at the Mutsha Primary School outside Toyando. She is Vutuhawe Madala. Police say that she was electrocuted after stepping on an electric cable on the school premises on Wednesday. Well, several years ago, another 5-year-old Michael Mugabe died after falling into a pit at a Limpopo school. The name is released 2 days after the Bisho High Court reserved judgment until the end of May on Wednesday in the matter between NGO Equal Education as well as the Basic Education Department. The body is asking the court to eliminate loopholes in school infrastructure law that make it easy for the department to escape certain responsibilities. Its court action was prompted after another school tragedy where a 5-year-old grade R learner died after falling into a pit lantern at the Luna Primary School in Bizana in the Eastern Cape. The Department of Basic Education said on Thursday that it was doing everything in its capacity to address backlogs timelessly by prioritizing unsafe structures and those without decent sanitation, electricity and water. Violence in schools continues to make headlines. In a video that went viral on social media, a learner was seen walking to the front of the class where the teacher is standing and threw a book at the teacher. The female teacher then immediately walked away. The incident happened at the Three Rivers Secondary School in the Vaal. The learner has since been suspended pending a disciplinary hearing. Earlier we spoke to SATU General Secretary Mogoena Maluleke as well as COSA's representative Simon Vuma to get their views.
Well, from our side as SATU, we condemn any form of violence, whether it's against the teachers or against the students. That is that our schools are a microcosm of our society. Our society has become so violent. Any protest results in violence. And the first thing that the community does is that when they want a tarred road or they want anything in terms of service delivery, the first thing they look for is let's close the school down. So I think it's the issue of us really dealing with our morals, dealing with how we value education. And once we are able to address that, we can be able to address the violence in our school. We need to ensure that we eradicate any form of belief that violence can solve the problems.
Simon, your views on that?
We as COSAS, we are very clear on this one. We had a program called Learn Without Fear program. And that program was particularly speaking on how teachers should be taken care of in schools. How should they be defended? Also, and how learners should be defended. But so far, as good as you know that before you can become a learner, a member of a community. And in most cases, most learners tend to be violent in school just because of their peer pressure from home until to school. What happens in community also affects a learner in school. If you are grown up in a violent community, that leads you to become a violent person, even towards other learners and teachers as well, and can cause harm towards your future and your education system.
Definitely. Let's talk about the schooling environment. And a lot of focus in the past couple of months and the stories that have been making headlines have been that of, the teachers and the conduct that they've had with learners. But on the other hand, now we're actually seeing the student attacking the teacher. What sort of mechanisms or what sort of options does a teacher have when a student is attacking a teacher in defense? Well,
the first thing is that as a professional, you have got to use the best way is to stay out of a confrontation. And try to employ other methods of resolving that particular conflict. So the teacher, once being attacked by the student, instead of retaliating and causing unnecessary problem for the school to resolve, report the matter to the principal, so the principal can then attend to that particular situation. In certain instances, yes, anger takes over, and we are saying that's one thing that destroys life, is when people get angry and start retaliating. So we call our teachers to really be tolerant, to be empathetic and be reflective, especially that when they are confronted with that type of a situation, the first is to know that, look, I don't know what has driven this particular learner to behave this way, and therefore let me just retreat and be able to apply other method of helping the student to deal with that. The secondly is that we have been calling for the Department of Education to provide psychosocial services, not in reaction, but proactively, so that you support your school-based support team where they're able to detect this kind of a conduct earlier and be able to assist a student or any other person who is violent in a school environment, so that that particular person is assisted. But if we are not going to be proactive, we're going to be reacting, and that is not a solution to our problems.
Simon, having a look at it from a student's perspective, do you feel that the infrastructure that the Secretary General now has just said, do you feel that our schools at the ground level have the infrastructure and have those support social services to help children?
Now, as we see as COSAS, our schools have been open to be a violence place. If you can check, there's no system put in place by the government on how to make sure that our teachers and learners are safe in school. If you can check, there are only schools in towns that have that kind of security. But when we go to rural areas and other provinces that have more rural areas, there's no infrastructures that we are speaking of. Well, we say the Department of Education failures when it comes to that. And also, before a child can attack a teacher, you have to understand where does it come from firstly. Sometimes the teacher might beat the child first, and the child do the same to the teacher. We have to check two phases. If a teacher exercises corporal punishment on the child feels that I can also defend myself. It depends on where did it start and what is the cause of the problem. We have to check it also. Let's not focus on saying learners are beating teachers, but not checking what the teachers do to be in such kind of situation.
From the learning front, are we seeing a correlation between the standard and the quality of what's coming out of the classroom and what's taking place, the other issues that are taking place in the classrooms?
Well, we cannot precisely say that there's a correlation, because you have got to understand the environment at which the learner comes from to understand why a learner is aggressive, why a learner is behaving in that particular manner. It may be very variables that cause that to happen. But clearly it is that to judge the quality of education on that basis of what is happening, I think we will then be making a mistake, because teachers are working more than what is required of them to work. They work on Saturday, they work during holidays to ensure that they up the standards in education. The issue here is that we have not been attending to the social ills that are there. We have not been attending to that. We are trying our best, but if the teachers don't have the necessary support from those who are professionals, who are trained to be able to deal with the situation, we will end up in this particular situation.
Or more police officers may be arrested or summoned to appear in court in relation with the killings of 34 mine workers in Marikana in the northwest on the 16th of August 2012. Well, the Independent Police Investigative Directorate, IPID, says a decision in this regard is still outstanding. Or former Provincial Deputy Police Commissioner General William Mbe appeared yesterday in the Rustenburg Magistrates Court for the killings that happened in August. NPA Provincial Spokesperson Frank Lesniejo says more charges may be added. Well, the situation is reported to be calm in Eshowe in KZN North Coast after residents burnt down a farmhouse and 3 sugarcane farms. Well, this comes after a security guard working the farm allegedly shot and killed a 30-year-old man on Wednesday. And Umlalazi, a Ward 9 councillor, says that the victim and another man had been fishing illegally in the farm's dam when 2 security guards patrolling the area fired shots in the direction of the 2 men. Locals then went on the rampage and burnt the farms and the house in an apparent act of revenge. They also confiscated a truck from a motorist and used it to block the busy R66. Well, the NPA in the Free State has welcomed the sentence from the High Court in Bloemfontein that was handed down on the Danish national Peter Fredriksson. Well, he has been handed 2 life sentences for the rape of a minor and conspiracy to murder his wife. 65-year-old Fredriksson was found in 2015 with a collection of female genitalia in his home freezer. The former gun dealer was also found guilty of manufacturing, distributing and possessing child pornography, as well as contravening the Immigration Act. Fredriksson was found to have used fraudulent documentation to enter South Africa. Well, another Sangoma has been arrested at Emalahleni in Mpumalanga for allegedly killing a person for mooti purposes. Hazel Khoza appeared in the Witbank Magistrates Court yesterday after he was found in possession of human body parts. It's reported that the victim was a 65-year-old white woman who was kidnapped from her farm.
Another alleged Muti killing in Witbank, a mutilated body of a woman found here. Police were led to this mealie field by 2 suspects.
This case is appearing as if it's the same like the albinism case that we are busy with here at Witbank.
The family says it's shattered.
It was a gruesome death. And like what my dear friend was saying, that if government could just do something to protect women and children, anybody for that matter, so that we can all live together.
Members of the Mpumalanga legislature visited the family.
We want to elevate this issue to government, where we are going to organize debates in the legislature and also to make laws that will make sure that our people are protected, and also to engage with national parliament.
The 2 accused briefly appeared in court and are charged with possession of body parts. The woman's body was found with missing body parts. She is believed to have been used for muti. Sibongile Mkani Mpolweni, SABC News, outside of Witbank in Mpumalanga.
Well, a recent attack on a German couple while hiking at Sandpark's Brown Hooded Trail at the Wilderness on the garden route has many visitors worried. The couple was robbed of jewellery, cameras and cell phones. With the annual Garden Route Walking Festival approaching, Sandparks has assured visitors that they will be safe.
The Sandparks Brown Hooded Trail in Wilderness, a popular tourist attraction. The annual walking festival is fast approaching and thousands will descend here for a fun walk over the Easter weekend. Over 40 hiking trails will be open to the public. For these visitors, personal safety comes first.
Yes, we felt safe on all these trips. Yeah, and this was, for me, the easiest trip. We walked. The other one were bit more stronger for us.
Sandpark says it will carry out more patrols in the area.
We're very concerned about an incident that happened here on this trail where 2 people from Germany were mugged. And we had a meeting then this morning to workshop what is it that we can do differently with the resources that we have.
Security has also been beefed up in other parks around the Western Cape, including Table Mountain National Park in Cape Town. Parks such as these are also critical for the preservation of natural forests and fynbos.
We are custodians of 22 parks around the country, beautiful conservation areas, which is nothing without people. We do conservation so that tourists can come and enjoy what we conserve.
Adventure and nature lovers are encouraged to take part in the Garden Route Walking Festival from the 30th of March. Segwi Chetty, SABC News, Wilderness.
Well, on our question of the day, we're asking you. Of course, Mugabe says that he never thought that his former protege, Emmerson Mnangagwa, would be the one who would turn against him. Of course, what do you make of the latest comments by former Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe? Send us your comments and we'll have a look at some of those tweets at SABC Newsroom after the short break.
South Africa is in need of a frank dialogue. My name is Onkgopotse JJ Tabani. Join me every Sunday at 8:30 on SABC News Channel 404 as we speak to leaders of society, business and government about the state of our nation. Come now, let's talk frankly.
Special assignment. Crime keeps the society in terror and pain. Why so?
If someone phones me, just phones me, tells me, okay, look here, I need a server. And I get you all driving, I'll take it.
What pushes normal people to be so hard heartless and brutally kill one another.
The other side of it could be more for their own psychological need. It might be part of a sexual fantasy that they have. It could be about power and control.
After proper investigation is followed, the perpetrator gets arrested.
It's quite a massive process. And ultimately, we have parents, I think justice is served.
Emotional scars remain.
We would pay any price to get him back, and the sad reality is that it's gone.
Special assignment. We unravel the truth every Sunday at 21:30.
Well, Zimbabwe's former president Robert Mugabe says that he never thought that his former protege Emmerson Mnangagwa would be the one who would turn against him. Mugabe further added that he is willing to play a role in Zimbabwe's transition to correct the wrongs of his removal.
Today, Emmerson is no longer on my side. I'm no longer the president. He would be the man who would turn against me. But there it was, there it is, it happened. I don't hate Emmerson. I would want to work with him, but he must be proper.
Well, we will be bringing you that full interview today at our 11 o'clock bulletin this morning. It is also a question of the day. Mugabe says that he never thought that his former protege Emmerson Mnangagwa would be the one who would turn against him. What do you make of the latest comments by former Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe? We've asked you this as our question of the day. Let's have a look at some of the tweets that have already come through this morning. Ovuyo says Mugabe should just stop politics and focus on his mental and medical health. Tabo says he is the one that sent Mnangagwa to exile and tried to pay precedence for his wife. He must accept his mistakes first. Nazim says Judas turned his back against Jesus Christ, who he is not to be stabbed in the back by his people. Very interesting views coming in. Let's have a look at our poll today. We're asking, is government failing the basic education? Of course, this is in light of some of the media reports around mud schools. There's also that story in Limpopo, seeing children actually learning under a tree in 2018. Well, is government failing the basic education system? 92% of you are saying yes, only 8% of you are saying no, with just 460 votes coming in this morning on our second hour. Let's have a look at some of the tweets there. Lucky says 150% correct. I honestly think we need to change our basic education system and the minister must be removed and MEC Lesufi must take over. Well, John says Angie Macheka is not serious about the education of our kids. I think she must be relieved of her duties as minister and be replaced by someone who will take education seriously. I think that MEC Lesufi is the right person for the post. Master or Ikona03 on Twitter says, we adopted foreign laws before leveling the playing field. We should have concentrated on centralizing services to begin with those that have already been excluded. Today's budgets are not measured on who needs services. Most, as a result, children are dying and are animalistic behavior. Thank you very much for participating in both our poll and our question. Let's cross over to Valen for a bit of sports.
Thank you very much, Shante. So weekends are about kicking back, relaxing and sport for most people. So our question this morning that we asked you on Newsroom was, what sporting events are you looking forward to this weekend? We asked you to send your comments at SABC Newsroom on Twitter. So simple. Here's what a couple of you had to say. Nico J. van Rensburg saying the golf, that's the Arnold Palmer Invitational, and Tiger Woods returning to form. Tabo Elvis Lamini saying, I'm looking forward to the CAF Champions League, Mamelodi Sundowns versus Rayon Sport of Rwanda Loftus Stadium, 7 o'clock Sunday. Yes, it is a date. The aggregate in that match, which is the second leg that we'll be seeing on Sunday, is still goalless. I'll watch any team we play if that team will be live on TV, but I do have a team I support anyway. I'm looking forward to seeing the team. Nkonzo, why are you being so discreet? Which team is it? Did they lose their last match perhaps? Is that why? All right, it's back to Shante now to take you through the papers.
We're going to have to wait and see what team comes out on Monday, Baden. Let's have a look now at what's taking place on our newspapers this morning from across the continent. We'll start off here at home in South Africa. The Mail and Guardian reports that on Monday, Lumka fell into pit latrine at her school, Luna Primary School in Bizana in the Eastern Cape, and drowned. In Zimbabwe, the Manica Post says that the pandemonium rocked Gomba Primary School last week as furious parents boycotted an annual general meeting and bayed for the blood of an ECD teacher who allegedly inscripted satanic tattoos on their children. Finally, in Swaziland, the Swaziland Observer reports members of Parliament have instructed the Ministry of Labour and Social Security to give UNISA students their allowances that have been cut by 60%. And what we can expect coming up after the break, International Relations and Cooperation Minister Lindiwe Sisulu is demanding that Australia retract comments on South Africa's land reform process.
But for us, 0-0 is a good scoreline. We believe that coming back to our home ground at Lucas Marippa Stadium, it's a place that we're very confident. It's a place that in the CAF tournament last year, we had a lot of big scorelines. We put in a lot of good performances, and we're hoping that we can go do the same on Friday night.
Last season's finalists, SuperSport United, are confident they can progress to the second round of the CAF Confederations Cup. They host Pedro Atletico in the second leg of the first round tie later today. And Karina Horn is favourite to recapture her national 100-metre crown after she finally broke Yvette de Klerk's 28-year-old South African women's 100-metre record. And on the tennis front, Kevin Anderson, currently enjoying his career-best world ranking, was surprised by Croatian young gun Borna Coric in the Indian Wells quarterfinals.
SABCnews.com is your one-stop digital portal to all the news you need. With a website that is easy to use on mobile, SABC News prides itself in being the primary source of public service content across multiple platforms. Watch live streams of all the big news events on the SABC News YouTube channel, which is one of the most viewed South African YouTube channels globally. And catch up on the best of SABC television and radio news. Follow breaking news on all of the SABC News social media platforms, interact with SABC News on Facebook, and stay connected on Twitter for the latest headlines and real-time updates by our reporters. SABC News, everywhere.
Well, President Cyril Ramaphosa will continue with his whirlwind tour of the SADC region this weekend. The Australian High Commissioner to South Africa, Adam McCarthy, says he will convey the diplomatic warning issued by the International Relations and Cooperation Minister Lindiwe Sisulu to his government. The African Peer Review Mechanism has held celebrations to mark its 15th anniversary. Leading at the half hour, the community of Eshowe in KZN in the North Coast are staging a march to the Eshowe local municipality to protest over claims of abuse by the local farmer. Well, this comes after a security guard working at the farm allegedly shot and killed a 30-year-old man. Amandla Xulu was with his friends on their way to fish when the guard shot him. Locals then went on the rampage and burnt the farms and the house in an apparent act of revenge. For the latest, we are joined by SABC's Ayanda Mhlongo. Very good morning to you, Ayanda, coming from a very rainy KZN this morning. What is the latest in the situation?
A very good morning to you, Shantae, and a good morning to our viewers at home. Yes, really wet and cold day here in KwaZulu-Natal in the area of Eshowe. We're coming to you just along the R66, which is the main road from Eshowe if you're traveling towards the area of Melmoth. And yesterday, this is the main road that was blockaded by the communities in the surrounding area of Mlalazi. Of course, following that incident where Spamandla Xulu, a 30-year-old, is alleged to have been killed by security guards of working for one of the farmers in this area. Now, this morning, Shantae, the community of Mlalazi made their way to the local municipality, to the town hall, to vent their anger and frustration, saying that the authorities have done nothing to address their complaints when over a year or so, even more, they've been complaining about what they call alleged abuse by farmers in the area. And they saying that had the municipalities or the authorities that they'd reported this abuse to, had they done or acted on those complaints or even looked into some of the challenges that the community and the farm workers were experiencing, that possibly this incident that has taken place may not, which has resulted in them losing a community member. And you can see behind me is one of the sugarcane plantations that you can see it is burned. It seems like a huge area. Thousands of, or hundreds rather, of hectares were set alight from the night before when the community went on a rampage. And of course, you know that we reported yesterday that they'd also set alight a farmhouse believed to be that of the farmer who owns the plantation where Xulu was shot at. We understand that the farmer is overseas, so we have not been able to speak to him. We are trying at the moment to speak to the farmers or get the Farmers Association in the area to hear what their response is and possibly what other farmers here are feeling. They must be, of course, in fear following the violence that has now taken place here, and whether or not some of them may have possibly been forced to leave their homes to places of safety. But we are going to be chatting or speaking to the Farmers Association in the area. I must say that there is a heavy police presence as well, even at the Eshowe Town Hall earlier on, where the community members had gathered. A lot of police have been deployed from surrounding areas just to maintain a peace here in the area, try at least to bring the area back to some sort of stability. There is as well, while we're here, we've been seeing quite a number of police vans moving up the road here. From last night, we understand that the violence did quell. The community members heeded the call from the municipality, or rather the mayor and some of the local councillors and the traditional leaders in the area, calling for calm, to say that now that this incident has happened, that they are dealing with it, and just appealing for members of the community to give police the space to investigate. There is a security guard, we understand, has been arrested, and he did appear in court yesterday afternoon, and he is due back in court, we understand, on the 22nd of March. There is a statement as well that was released even by the National Commissioner of Police, General Stole, also urging the community of Mlalazi to calling for calm and saying that they will not tolerate any forms of attacks or vigilantism here in the community or arson, and saying that they will ensure that there is adequate security to protect some of the farmers as well as the other locals here in this community. It is quiet, of course. The rain has also possibly affected any protest action that there may have been. But we did speak to one of the community members who said no, they are going, once they've done from the community hall, they're going back into the community. They'll do a quick report back meeting, and then they'll then disperse, awaiting to then be addressed later. We understand that the local Inkosi is going to be summoning the people of this community to speak to them. So we are going to be here throughout the day, and we'll be giving you the latest updates and the developments coming from this area of Mlalazi. Shante.
Definitely. Thank you very much for giving us the updates around that story. Ayanda Mhlongo for SABC News down there in KZN along the north coast in Eshowe. Well, President Cyril Ramaphosa will continue with his whirlwind tour of the SADC region again this weekend. The visit forms part of a long-standing tradition in the SADC region, whereby newly elected heads of state pay courtesy calls to neighbouring countries. Well, since taking over as Australian High Commissioner to South Africa, Adam McCarthy says he will convey the diplomatic warning issued by the International Relations and Cooperation Minister Lindiwe Sisulu to his government. Well, Sisulu is demanding a retraction of the comments made by their Home Affairs Minister Peter Dutton related to the South African land redistribution process. Dutton was quoted as saying that white South African farmers deserve special attention because of what he terms the horrific circumstances of land seizures and violence in the country. Sisulu says government is offended by Dutton's comments. Well, the African peer review mechanism has been held celebrations to mark its 15th anniversary. Well, this during the event in the Rwandan capital, Kigali. Rwanda's Foreign Affairs Minister urged countries that have not conceded to the self-governance instrument to do so, adding that good governance drives transformation.
Song and dance as Rwandese traditional dancers set the pace for the APRM's 15th anniversary. Away from the fanfare, it was time to look inward. Has the APRM delivered on its mandate?
Imagine what if it wasn't there. I mean, then there will be no mechanism that is our own, homegrown, that is based on self-assessment, but also peer review. I think the growth in the membership is an indication, because from 11 in 2003 to 37 now, if it wasn't of value, members will not, more countries will not subscribe to it.
We really have to do more work on improving the quality of our members. So when you are a member, you take responsibility, you implement your obligations. So I think really for me, this is the key message that has come out of these 15-year celebrations.
Countries that have acceded to the APRM say it has helped them to set themselves ambitious goals on good governance.
We wanted to measure good governance, but not just that. We also wanted to benchmark our standards against those of our brothers and sisters on the continent, as well as against international standards inherent in the APRM mechanism.
Challenges, however, remain. The continent still suffers a governance and leadership crisis evident in the number of conflicts in Africa, which has spurred a migration crisis. Sarah Kimani, SABC News, Rwanda.
Staying with African news, the suburb of Yopougon in Ivory Coast economic capital Abidjan may not be connected to the country's power grid, but it's perfectly located for solar power entrepreneurs. Buoyed by success in East Africa, off-grid solar power startups are pouring into West Africa, offering pay-as-you-go kits in a race to claim tens of millions of customers who lack reliable access to electricity.
Jean-Noel Kumani and his family are among the first beneficiaries of solar power in the Ivory Coast, provided by Dutch off-grid developer Lumos Global. With his solar panel kit, Kuame says he now has indoor lighting and can also use an electric fan and a television.
Every day I see new people coming to ask me how I have electricity and how does it work. I told them, and the word has spread around, and that's why my neighbor went to buy one for himself as well.
Lumos Global kits, which cost about $600, include a solar panel linked to a battery that supports power sockets, a mobile phone adapter and LED light bulbs. Guame, who paid $57 upfront for his kit, is now leasing to own. A digital counter on the yellow battery pack tells him when he needs to top up his account using his mobile phone. If he doesn't pay, the kit, which also houses a global positioning system, shuts down. But in 5 years, he'll own it outright and his solar power will be free.
When we first came here, there was no electricity. But thanks to Lumos, we have electricity all the time and I can help my child with homework. It has changed my life.
According to the International Energy Agency, some 1.2 billion people around the world have no access to a power grid, while governments in much of the developing world are extending access to national networks. Africa is lagging, with less than 40% of African households connected. But what has long been decried as a major obstacle to Africa's development is viewed as an opportunity by entrepreneurs such as those behind Lumos Global. It launched in Nigeria in 2016 and by the end of 2017 had sold 73,000 kits and was averaging 16% month-on-end revenue growth.
Well, Libya's Coast Guard rescued 100 African migrants on Thursday from their sinking dinghy at sea. The migrants, the majority of whom are women and children, are mostly from Eritrea and Somalia. Well, Coast Guard authorities said that their boat's engines had failed just hours after setting off from the Libyan city of Homs, east of Tripoli.
Another 96 migrants were also picked up by aid organizations early this morning, bringing the total number rescued to 196. EU naval mission wants to rapidly expand training of Libyan coast guards to stem migrant flows to Italy and reduce death at the sea, signaling a renewed push to support a force struggling to patrol its own coast. Despite growing help from the EU and Italy, Libya's Coast Guard has continued to be accused by European charities of operating recklessly during rescues and putting migrants' lives at risk, accusations the Coast Guard routinely denies. Libya remains the main departure point for many sub-Saharan African migrants trying to reach Europe by sea. Though the level of migrant smuggling by Libyan armed groups has dropped under European pressure.
Well, back home, for the past 3 decades, it's enthralled audiences. The annual Dance Umbrella Festival will again unleash hidden gems. This as local and international dancers use the platform to showcase new dance forms.
A journey from past to present. A signature piece. The more than 2-decade-old ensemble saw the advent of the popular dance genre Afrofusion.
When they speak about Afrofusion, they speak about this way. This is where Afrofusion was established, or was developed. So going back into performing this work is more of finding a new self and a new interpretation of Afrofusion.
It also won Best Choreography and hopes to captivate audiences again.
And it's a beautiful work in terms of the concentration and the kind of buntu of the dancers on stage. Yeah, I mean, you've seen how it is. It's just, it's emotionally charged. It's beautiful.
An opportunity to add their own pizzazz.
You actually absolutely need a ceremony or a ritual that will help you actually to grow or to stay connected with what your purpose is as a creative person.
For these dancers, a purpose which starts here. Gillian Pillay, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Take a short break here on SABC Newsroom. When we come back, Valen Kirtley standing by with all your sporting highlights.
This is your midday report. Good afternoon.
I will be faithful.
I assume as President of the Republic of Kenya.
Let's take a look at how African markets and currencies are performing now.
The central bankers say the success of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies is just a bubble.
Breaking stories, detailed economy and sport. Tune into Midday Report every Monday to Friday from 12 p.m.
No. Yes. Yes.
Sports Live every Saturday and Sunday at 7:30 p.m.
Welcome back. You're watching Newsroom. Let's bring you your sports news and results just in on the rugby front. The Chiefs maintained their winning streak over the Bulls. The New Zealand side came back from a 14-point half-time deficit to run out 41-28 victors in their Super Rugby match. Here's a look at some of the highlights.
To move the ball. Here they go now.
Well, John Mitchell hoping for a good start, really, to set the pace. And they brought Ismail in from the wing. Here's something brewing here for the Bulls. Khaled! And he's in at the corner. Well, a great injection from Travis Ismail, and this time it was the Chiefs defence caught napping. Very close for Italic, is it? They go to the line. The Bulls are down. And it's a try. And it is big Brody Retallick. McKenzie, 30 metres out from the line. Falcon now moves it on, missing the ball. Beautiful fingertip touch from Brody Retallick. And the big man stays towards the line, and he's got a second. To be done now, the kick. And tearing after it is Owen Mulder. It sets up for him. He steps. He is over.
Staying with rugby-related news, Lions flank Franco Mostert will captain his team for tomorrow's Super Rugby match against the Sunwolves in Johannesburg. The Lions are looking to bounce back after suffering a surprise last-minute defeat against New Zealand side, the Blues, last Saturday.
From the word go, there's hurdles ahead of us, and we're not going to, hopefully we clear all the hurdles, but we're not going to, some of them you're going to knock down. We knocked it down. I don't want to go into that discussion, we're focusing now already on Saturday, but it's behind us. So the whole focus is already on the hurdle in front, and it's a team that plays very good rugby, attracting, they're really analysing their game and they run the ball well. So the whole focus is straight away. In fact, we started Monday after 12. It was water under the bridge.
The Lions Sunwolves match kicks off at 5:15 tomorrow, while the Stormers host the Blues at Newlands at 3:05, hoping to get over what was a disappointing Australasian tour. Also confirmation of the result from just a couple of minutes ago between the Chiefs and the Bulls. Let's move on to athletics now. Stephen Mokoka and Dominique Scott-Efford took the first 2 national titles on offer in the 10,000 metres for men and 5,000 metres for women, respectively, at the ASA Track and Field Championships, which got underway in Pretoria yesterday. A world para-athletics record, as well as a national mark, were also betted on day 1. Karina Horn finally broke Yvette de Klerk's 28-year-old 100-metre South African record. The 29-year-old clocked 11.03 seconds, improving on the 11.06 second mark she had shared with de Klerk since mid-2015. In the men's sprint, favourite Akani Simbine pulled out as a precaution for a niggling hamstring. Former 6-times champion Simon Magakwe, the first South African to break 10 seconds in the 100 metres in 2014, was the second fastest overall in 10.09. Roscoe Engel, however, was the fastest of the semi-finalists as he clocked a 10.06 second career best to take pole position for today's final. And double Paralympic champion Charles du Toit was the star of the first day. He betted his own world record in the 100 metres. Running in lane 6 in the mixed para event, he clocked a time of 11.41 seconds, bettering his T37 mark by 0.01 seconds set last year at the Paralympic Games in Rio de Janeiro. And SuperSport United are confident they can progress to the second round of the CAF Confederations Cup. Last year's finalists in the competition failed to score in the first leg of their tie with Pedro Atletico of Angola. Matatansa play the second leg of the tie tonight.
Yeah, we hope so. We would have liked an away goal. We see how big an away goal is in these games. But for us, 0-0 is a good scoreline. We believe that coming back to our home ground at Lucas Morepi Stadium, it's a place that we're very confident. It's a place that in the CAF tournament last year we had a lot of big scorelines. We put in a lot of good performances, and we're hoping that we can go and do the same on Friday night.
A look at the fixtures when it comes to South African interest for the CAF Confederations Cup. These are first round ties, the second leg of both of these ties tonight. Match kicks off in Gauteng at 7 p.m. on Sunday. It's all about what's happening in the Mother City. Match on Sunday is due to kick off at 4 p.m. Cape Town City enjoying a 1-0 aggregate against the Mozambique side at Costa do Sol. In the CAF Champions League, 2 South African teams taking part in that match. Actually, it should be Mamelodi Sundowns versus Rayon Sport, and Bidvest Wits up against Desportivo de Agosto, also of Angola. And the fixtures for the 2017-2018 Nedbank Cup quarterfinal have been finalised. Ubuntu Cape Town, who eliminated 2 Premier Soccer League outfits, is the only club from the lower leagues to reach the last 8. The Cape Town-based club was drawn to play Free State Stars for a place in the semi-final. Organisers also confirmed that the final of the event will take place in the Mother City for the first time since 2003. The venues, the times for kickoffs, as well as the dates will be confirmed for the quarterfinals in due course. And then in the league action this weekend, with log leaders Mamelodi Sundowns competing in the CAF Champions League, second on the log, Orlando Pirates can close to the gap to within just a point with a win tomorrow. Maritzburg United are 2 points from third on the log, and Free State Stars host Polokwane. Well, they host Polokwane tonight at 8 p.m. at the Harry Gwala Stadium. The Arrows and Pirates game is set to begin at 8:15. In golf news, Henrik Stenson turned in a sizzling 8 under 64 to grab the first round lead at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, while Tiger Woods was back near the top of the leaderboard and on the prowl for a 9th Bay Hill title. But the man in the spotlight once again was Woods, back at one of his favourite events and near the top of the leaderboard after carding a rock-solid 4 under 68 to share 7th with compatriot Patrick Reed and South Korean An Byung-hun. A record 8 times winner on the Bay Hill layout, the former world #1 was in vintage form, mixing 6 birdies with a single double bogey to put a marker down for a 9th Palmer Invitational title. After years of battling back woes, Woods, who underwent spinal fusion surgery last April, appears to be back close to the form that helped him to 14 major titles. Rory McIlroy, who has had a sluggish start on the PGA Tour and missed the cut in 2 of 4 starts, had looked poised to feature on the leaderboard until a double bogey at 18 left the Northern Irishman with an opening round of 69, 5 of the pace. That's how we come to the end of your sport on Newsroom. We'll be back after this.
SABC is the official broadcaster of the 2018 FIFA World Cup Russia.
Our Bill of Rights is the cornerstone of democracy. It enshrines the rights of all people in our country and affirms the democratic values of human dignity. SABC News celebrates Human Rights Month in the year of Madiba. #KnowYourRights.
Entrepreneurship and taking charge of your own destiny is a mindset, and it's something that should start at a very young age.
I started when I was around about 3 or something, because I have a bunch of paintings in the office. I have a teacher that teaches me and my class how to do business, and he was the one who taught me.
Being an entrepreneur makes you money wise.
Before everyone spent their money, I would sell the little things I painted, and I'd sell my drawings and stuff like that.
In business, it is important to keep record of all your transactions.
I have a passion and I love making anything, so I chose to make Play-Doh, and I'm passionate about it.
Catch Bupilong every Friday at 17:30. The fossil hominid sites at Sterkfontein Caves, known as Cradle of Humankind, were declared a World Heritage Site on the 2nd of December 1999. The Cradle of Humankind covers an area of over 47,000 hectares of privately owned land northwest of Johannesburg. Most of the site is on dolomite, a rock type which is slightly soluble in water. There are currently over 200 caves on the site and 13 fossil sites. We know that Australopithecus africanus were present in the cradle from about 2 to 4 million years ago. It is generally known that hominids are close relatives of human ancestors.
SABCnews.com is your one-stop digital portal to all the news you need. With a website that is easy to use on mobile, SABC News prides itself in being the primary source of public service content across multiple platforms. Watch live streams of all the big news events on the SABC News YouTube channel, which is one of the most viewed South African YouTube channels globally. And catch up on the best of SABC television and radio news. Follow breaking news on all of the SABC News social media platforms, interact with SABC News on Facebook, and stay connected on Twitter for the latest headlines and real-time updates by our reporters. SABC News, everywhere.
A very good morning to you, and thank you so much indeed for choosing Morning Live.
But I want to know the basic thing.
Griselda Lewis, SABC News, in Parktown, Johannesburg.
Zimbabwe, Mzondeli Mbeje, SABC News, Luanda, Angola.
Let's take a look at your market indicators.
Thanks for staying with Morning Live. Let's bring you your sports news.
Let's take a look at your satellite image.
Set the agenda for the day with Morning Live.
We start this hour with breaking news. NPA head Shaun Abrahams will today announce whether or not he will prosecute former President Jacob Zuma. Former Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe publicly opens up for the very first time about the events that led to his ousting. SARS boss Moyane faces a deadline to hand over 2 investigative reports into the tax and questionable money affairs of Makwakwa to Parliament. More police officers may be arrested or summoned to appear in court in relation with the killings of 34 mine workers in the Marikana massacre.
And in sport, John Mitchell's team suffered their 3rd Super Rugby loss of the 2018 campaign as Chiefs fight back after entering the half-time break, 14 points down. Coming to you live from Johannesburg, this is Newsroom. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Shante Yankees. Of course, I'm not alone. Ben and Curtly is standing by with all your sporting highlights this weekend. Ben, what are we expecting? Well, we just got one of our sporting highlights this morning. Unfortunately, South African teams on the receiving end of what turned out to be rather unfavourable scoreline after the Bulls were leading in that match against the Chiefs at half-time. Very good morning to you, Shante, and to everybody at home. We're going to be bringing you a full sports bulletin at about 1:45 the top of the hour. Until then, here's Shante with your lead story.
The breaking news at the top of the hour, NPA head Shaun Abrahams will today announce whether or not he will prosecute former President Jacob Zuma. We will be giving you updates on that. We do know that that is set to take place within the next hour or so. Do stay tuned for that announcement. Moving on, former Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe says that the current administration of Emmerson Mnangagwa is illegal. Mugabe spoke for the first time to the media about his military-backed removal from the office last year.
I don't hate Emmerson. I brought him into government. I would want to work with him, but he must be proper. He is improper where he is, illegal. And if it is to correct that illegality that he would want me to discuss with him, I'm willing. We must undo this disgrace which we have imposed on ourselves. We don't deserve it. We don't deserve it. Please, we don't deserve it. Zimbabwe doesn't deserve it. We want to be a constitutional country. Yes, we may have our shortcomings here and there, but overall, we must obey the law.
Well, SARS boss Tom Moyane faces a deadline today to hand over 2 investigative reports into the tax and the questionable money affairs of Makwakwa to Parliament. SARS top tax official Jonas Makwakwa resigned on Tuesday. SARS Commissioner Tom Moyane made the announcement at a media briefing in Pretoria. Makwakwa is alleged to have misled SARS with regards to declarations of interest in the appointment of the National Integrated Credit Solutions as one of 8 debt collectors to recover debt owed to SARS. Makwakwa was suspended on money laundering allegations and then controversially reinstated last year. Makwakwa faces allegations of impropriety in the selection and appointment of the credit solutions company NICS. The FIC report earlier pointed to corrupt activities between NICS and Makwakwa, resulting in illegal payments of up to 400,000 rand to Makwakwa. Well, another irregular set of prepayments to service providers amounting to 68 million rand has now been detected at the Northwest Government. 13 lease agreements have been signed at the Social Development following other recent revelations of alleged irregular payments to a Gupta-related company worth 180 million rand. According to former acting head of Department of Social Development, this is currently Chief Director Itumeleng Mohorosi, the current MEC Hoffman Haleng exerted pressure to approve these payments months before the work was actually done. Well, of the 13 lease agreements which were irregular, a further 18 million rand was also fraudulently paid. Mohorosi, who is on suspension, testified before the Portfolio Committee on Social Development. Well, the Gauteng Health Department says the strike by the state mortuary workers has now come to an end. Workers went on strike last week demanding that they be trained as pathologists. Yesterday, the strike was called off after the Labour Court in Johannesburg ordered that the matter be referred to the Bargaining Council. Workers' Union Nahau has confirmed that they have called off the strike. The Germiston State Mortuary on Gauteng's East Rand is the most affected by the strike, with a backlog of more than 60 bodies that needed post-mortems to be conducted. The community of Eshowe in KZN North Coast are planning to march to the Eshowe local municipality to protest over claims of abuse by a local farmer. Well, this comes after a security guard working the farm allegedly shot and killed a 30-year-old man. Amanda Kulu was with his friends on their way to fish when the guard shot him. Locals then went on the rampage and burnt the farms and the house in an apparent act of revenge. For the latest, we were joined earlier by SABC reporter Ayanda Mhlongo.
This morning, Shante, the community of Mlalazi made their way to the local municipality, to the town hall, to vent their anger and frustration, saying that the authorities have done nothing to address their complaints when over a year or so, even more, they've been complaining about what they call alleged abuse by farmers in the area. And they saying that had the municipalities or the authorities that they'd reported this abuse to, had they done or acted on those complaints or even looked into some of the challenges that the community and the farm workers were experiencing, that possibly this incident that has taken place may not, which has resulted in them losing a community member. And you can see behind me is one of the sugarcane plantations that you can see it is burned. It seems like a huge area. Thousands of, or hundreds rather, of hectares were set alight from the night before when the community went on a rampage. And of course, you know that we reported yesterday that they'd also set alight a farmhouse believed to be that of the farmer who owns the plantation where Kulu was shot at. We understand that the farmer is overseas, so we have not been able to speak to him. We are trying at the moment to speak to the farmers, or get the Farmers Association in the area to hear what their response is, and possibly what other farmers here are feeling. They must be, of course, in fear following the violence that has now taken place here, and whether or not some of them may have possibly been forced to leave their homes to places of safety. But we are going to be chatting or speaking to the Farmers Association in the area. I must say that there is a heavy police presence as well, even at the Eshowe Town Hall earlier on, where the community members had gathered. A lot of police have been deployed from surrounding areas just to maintain a peace here in the area, try at least to bring the area back to some sort of stability.
More police officers may be arrested or summoned to appear in court in relation with the killings of 34 mine workers in Marikana in the northwest in August 16, 2012. Well, the Independent Police Investigative Directorate, IPID, says a decision in this regard is still outstanding. A former Provincial Deputy Police Commissioner General William Embe appeared yesterday in the Rustenburg Magistrates Court for the killings that happened on the 13th of August. NPA provincial spokesperson Frank Lesniejo says more charges may be added. Four men accused of cannibalism are appearing in the Escourt Magistrates Court in the KZN Midlands today. They were arrested after a traditional healer, Nino Mbata, went to a local police station and voluntarily admitted to cannibalism in August last year. The four suspects, Mbata, Lugisani, Magubane, Stimeso Sitole, as well as Kailitle Lamula, are facing charges of murder and conspiracy to commit murder. Mbata and Sitole, who claim to be traditional healers, abandoned their bid for bail, while Magubane and Lamula were denied bail. Let's take a short break here on SABC Newsroom. More news and updates when we come back.
Welcome to Media Monitor, the show that analyzes the big news stories that made headlines. We bring you robust discussions on stories that made headlines in the week, where we interact with media analysts to unpack these top stories. Join me every Sunday morning from 9 to 10 Central African Time as I bring you riveting news and analysis.
Stay tuned to Media Monitor every Sunday from 9 a.m.
Welcome back. Well, Zimbabwe's former president Robert Mugabe says he never thought that his former protege Emmerson Mnangagwa would be the one who would turn against him. Mugabe further added that he is willing to play a role in Zimbabwe's transition to correct the wrongs of his removal.
Today, Emmerson is no longer on my side. I'm no longer the president. He would be the man who would turn against me. But there it was, there it is, it happened. I don't hate Emmerson. I would want to work with him, but he must be proper.
We will be bringing you that full interview in this last hour of a Newsroom. Of course, it also follows our question that we're asking. Mugabe then said that he never thought that his former protege, Emmerson Mnangagwa, would be the one who would turn against him, as we've just seen there in that clip. So we're asking you today, what do you make of those comments by the former Zimbabwe president, Robert Mugabe? Let's have a look at some of those tweets that came through this morning. This one coming in from Rosina saying it is him, Mugabe, who fired Mnangagwa firstly, so let him feel it. Tabo says Mugabe must understand that's the result of politics. Today we are friends, tomorrow we are enemies, and in the other side, he's old. Berry says, what is wrong with you, Mugabe? You are already a living death and a stupid. Leave the future to the intelligence and wise people. Of course, he says Mugabe should know that you can't trust a soldier. Some of the views there on the comments from former President of Zimbabwe, Robert Mugabe. We're also asking on our poll today, is government failing the basic education system? This is in light of still seeing images and stories of children learning in mud schools as well as learning under trees in Limpopo. Let's have a look at some of the tweets coming in. 91% of you are saying yes, 9% of you are saying no. Nazim says 100% yes. Look at the schools in the Eastern Cape, other provinces like Limpopo. Hashtag mud schools, hashtag Luno Primary. That, of course, is where a student actually fell into a toilet pit. Berry says, for the very firstly, who the government people are power are selfish and corrupt because their children are in fancy private schools. Mansa says they don't have a term on education. Education is a linear process. If the foundation is broken, the rest of the system fails. This is the case in South Africa. Let's have a look at what's making headlines front page at Central Continent. Starting off here at home firstly, the Mail and Guardian reports that on Monday, Lumka, of course, fell into a pit latrine at her school, Luna Primary. You just saw that in the tweet there in Bizana in the Eastern Cape, and actually drowned. Moving to Zimbabwe, the Manica Post says that pandemonium rocked a Gomba Primary School last week as furious parents boycotted an annual general meeting and bayed for blood of an ECD teacher who allegedly inscripted satanic tattoos on their children. And in Swaziland, the Swaziland Observer reports members of Parliament have instructed the Ministry of Labour and Social Security to give UNISA students their allowances that were cut before by 60%. And let's have a look at what we can expect coming up after the break. International Relations and Cooperation Minister Lindiwe Sisulu is demanding that Australia retract comments on South Africa's land reform process.
The Western Cape needs national government to fulfill its mandate on ensuring a bulk water supply.
We must ensure that the city of Cape Town never confronts this particular situation again.
The ESCOM is serious about stamping out corruption, which is why the market is now beginning to accommodate us.
Looking at neighboring countries, expecting Botswana just to see partly cloudy skies with a half 34 in Gaborone.
News today at 3 p.m. from Monday to Friday on SABC News.
President Cyril Ramaphosa will continue with his whirlwind tour of the SADC region this weekend. The Australian High Commissioner to South Africa, Adam McCarthy, says he will convey the diplomatic warning issued by the International Relations and Cooperation Minister Lindiwe Sisulu to his government. The African Peer Review Mechanism has held celebrations to mark its 15th anniversary. For leading, President Cyril Ramaphosa will continue with his whirlwind tour of the SADC region again this weekend. The visit forms part of a long-standing tradition in the SADC region, whereby newly elected heads of state pay courtesy calls to the neighbouring countries. Well, since taking over as President of South Africa last month, President Ramaphosa has embarked on a tour to some of the countries in the SADC region. This is customary in the regions where the new heads of state do pay courtesy calls. During his visit in both countries, the president will discuss bilateral cooperation as well as issues of peace and security in the region, the continent and the globe. He will be accompanied by Minister of International Relations and Cooperation Lindiwe Sisulu and State Security Minister Dipiyu Letsatsi Duba. Well, the Australian High Commissioner to South Africa, Adam McCarthy, says he will convey the diplomatic warning issued by the International Relations and Cooperation Minister Lindiwe Sisulu to his government. Sisulu is demanding a retraction of the comments made by their Home Affairs Minister Peter Dutton relating to the South African land redistribution process. Dutton was quoted as saying that white South African farmers deserve special attention because of what he terms the horrific circumstances of land sieges and violence in the country. Sisulu says government is offended by Dutton's comments. Well, the much-awaited interview, Mugabe says that he never thought that his former protege, Emmerson Mnangagwa, would be the one who would turn against him. Well, the elderly statesman had been in power for 37 years when the military-led Operation Restore Legacy to make way for Mnangagwa to take over.
On the 15th of November 2017, we had a change of government. A change of government that completely overhauled the system that we had worked to achieve for so many years. For so many years, I worked with a number of colleagues, most of whom are not with me now, and I regret they are our dear departed. I had Comrade Joshua Nkomo, I had Babam Zenda, I had Joe Msika, I had John Gomo. We had other colleagues we worked with. And on my side, I always had Emerson Mnangagwa. I brought him in to government. But I never thought he whom I had nurtured and brought into government and whose life I had worked so hard in prison to save, as he was threatened with hanging, that one day he would be the man who would turn against me. But there it was, there it is. It happened on the 15th of November. He was assisted by the army. I said it was a coup d'etat. Some people have refused to call it a coup d'etat. And what happened? He could never have assumed the presidency of the country without the army. It's the army which assisted him. The army made sure that the other organs of state were neutralized, completely neutralized. They neutralized the Central Intelligence Organization, many of whose members were bashed with their heads cracked. And this is not an exaggeration. Some of them are missing to this day. Their guns were taken away from them. The police had their armory completely emptied. Their guns had gone, disappeared. Who had taken them? The army. And then in our environment rolled what we never knew we had, some tanks. Oh, did we have these tanks? I was told they are ancient ones. 1914 to 1918 tanks. T-63 or 60 something. There they were rolling, armored cars running, and people not allowed to move from one place to another unless they got the permission of the army. Searches were taking place, left, right, and center. Persons being arrested It was truly a military takeover. There was no movement permissible unless that movement was checked and allowed by the army. That's what it was. I don't know what you would want to call it. But our people had not experienced such an environment before. We had prided ourselves on being very democratic and going to the support, military support of our neighbors. Mozambique, when Samora was still alive. We helped him. The DRC was attacked by its neighbors. Rwanda, Burundi, Uganda. And Kabila, the father, is late now, appealed to us to come quickly to his country and save him and his country from getting into the grip of his avaricious neighbors. And quickly we put together our little air force, the Hawks that we had bought from Britain, and we moved to the Congo. At the same time, we had our infantry moving also. And that way, we saved Kabila and saved the Congo. That's what we were. There are other areas where we send peacekeeping forces, but I won't bore you with those ones. But that's where we were, a very proud Zimbabwe, free Zimbabwe, which was democratic. But what are we now? Yes, we had fought our war of independence. We had campaigned quite a lot, but we always said the gun is and should always be led by politics. Politics and then the gun. But now you have the gun leading politics. We can't move our people. Every day, those young men and women we have are being called one by one to be asked very silly questions. Where is Jonathan? Professor Jonathan Moyo? Where is Kasukuere? Where is Joao? They don't know. They are mere cooks, they are mere messengers, gardeners. You don't expect them to know. Why worry them? Ask me. I don't even know where they are. Yes, once upon a time, we assisted them to get to safety. Guns, volleys of bullets were being fired at their houses, on their houses. And the cry came, please, please, and it was my wife. Mama, save us, please save us. I wasn't there. She organized some of her security and say, go and save them. What happens to you, I don't know. You may die on the way, but go. And she put together the cars and the persons that she had. I wasn't here. And so they were brought to here, to our house. Professor Jonathan Moyo, Kasukwere, and their families. The one had about 4 children, wife and 4 children. The other, wife and 3 children. And we kept them here and said to them, we will keep your families. We said that to the men, but you men find your way out. Go where you can, but we will keep your wife and the children here and save them. And so they left. We don't know how, and we don't know where they went. And we kept their families here until the situation was slightly better. Then they asked to get back to their homes. Zimbabwe, my beautiful Zimbabwe, the country I worked for. I left my teaching profession to join in the struggle to get Zimbabwe from the hands of the settler power and put it into the hands of our people. Zimbabwe must have its natural resources. It must have its land. Margaret Thatcher heard our cry. She organized a meeting at Lancaster House. At that meeting, the cry was, land, land, let our land come. She says, yes, there will be land reform. We said, yes, you will have to compensate your farmers. Yes, we shall, but the compensation may not be enough, and so you will have also to pay part of it. We said no. Joshua Nkomo said no. I said no. Our people were never paid for the land when it was taken from them. And we were deadlocked. The British saying you must pay something. We saying no, we will pay nothing. Then the Carter administration instructed the ambassador to intervene. Please tell them they have gone this distance. It's the whole of November and December 79 discussing, and they had reached agreement. And this one question should not hold them back. Tell them the United States is also going to make its contribution towards the land reform. With that assurance, we said, let's end the deadlock. And we ended the deadlock. And our people were happy. The British were happy. We were to celebrate our independence the following year. And we did, together with the British. Of course, the Thatcher government went, and in came the Labour government. Apparently, these young men did not seem to know, or did they know and they did not want to appreciate that there had been disagreement with the Thatcher government on the land issue. And they wanted to reverse it. Blair, who led it, said, no, we won't pay any compensation at all. And we were doing this together. So what do you do? With Emerson on my side, all the time. Today, Emerson is no longer on my side. I'm no longer the president. He is. I called him president the other day and he said, oh, no, don't please call me president. Call me Emerson. I said, I can't call you Emerson anymore. Okay, I'll call you ED. And you're coming here, we hope, will get the views I have published. I don't hate Emerson. I brought him into government. I would want to work with him, but he must be proper. He is improper where he is. Illegal. And if it is to correct that illegality that he would want me to discuss with him, I'm willing. We must undo this disgrace which we have imposed on ourselves. We don't deserve it. We don't deserve it. Please, we don't deserve it. Zimbabwe doesn't deserve it. We want to be a constitutional country. Yes, we may have our shortcomings here and there, but overall, we must obey the law, become constitutional. People must be chosen to be in government in the proper way. I will discuss. I'm willing to discuss. I'm willing to assist in that process. But I must be invited, properly invited, for that discussion. Currently, I am isolated. And I'm glad I have your company.
Just speaking there for the very first time, former president of Zimbabwe, Robert Mugabe, of course, on Emerson Mnangagwa and some of the activities that have taken place, also referring to him as someone who turned against him. Well, that is a wrap-up of news, at least for now, for some of your highlights. Do stay tuned. When we come back after the break, Valen Kirtley standing by with your sports.
South Africa is in need of a frank dialogue. My name is Onkgopote JJ Tabani. Join me every Sunday at 8:30 on SABC News Channel 404 as we speak to leaders of society, business and government about the state of our nation. Come now, let's talk frankly.
Special assignment. Crime keeps the society in terror and pain. Why so?
If someone phones me, this phones me, tells me, okay, look here, you need a silver. And I get you all driving, I'll take it.
What pushes normal people to be so hard, heartless, and brutally kill one another?
The other side of it could be more for their own psychological need. It might be part of a sexual fantasy that they have. It could be about power and control.
After proper investigation is followed, the perpetrator gets arrested.
It's part of a massive process. And ultimately, the work our parents, I think justice is served.
Emotional scars remain.
We would pay any price to get him back, and the sad reality is that it's gone.
Special assignment. We unravel the truth every Sunday at 21:30.
Welcome back to Newsroom. Let's bring you your sports news in this hour. The Chiefs maintained their winning streak over the Bulls. The New Zealand side came back from a 14-point halftime deficit to run out 41-28 victors. It was the Bulls' third loss from 4 matches this season.
Chiefs coach Colin Cooper made 4 changes to his starting 15, who beat New Zealand rivals the Blues 27-21 a fortnight ago. While the Bulls, still smarting following their loss to the Reds, welcomed back captain Burger Odendaal. The Bulls were sublime in the first half and created all sorts of problems for the Chiefs with their ball-in-hand approach. Centre Jesse Creed was particularly effective as link between the inside and outside backs and threw the final pass in 3 of the first 4 tries by the Bulls, 2 of those by left-wing Divan Rousseau.
They're just all over the Chiefs at the moment. And Rousseau.
But like in Brisbane a week ago, the Bulls failed to score a single point in the second half. Their lead was cut to just 2 points early in the second half with tries by forwards Mitchell Brown as well as Brodie Retallick. The bye the Chiefs had last weekend was coming to their aid, while the Bulls appeared to be flat-footed and out of steam. Trailing by a point following a Chiefs penalty by Damon McKenzie, and in an effort to squeeze out a victory, Bulls coach John Mitchell rung the changes. But Conrad van Vuuren, who had just come on, was yellow-carded for a late and high tackle on McKenzie. Down to 14 men, and with the home team the fresher of the 2 sides, what happened next was inevitable. And when Solomon Alamalu gathered a cross kick to score the Chiefs' 5th try, the Bulls were out of it. Anton Litton Brown scored the home side's final try of the evening after the siren for a 41-28 victory, their second win from 3 matches this season. Tabiso Sitola, SABC News.
Staying with Super Rugby, the Stormers will have to dig deep when they face the Blues in their match at Newlands tomorrow. This after losing all 3 matches on their tour of Australasia. Captain Sia Khaleesi says the Newlands faithful will be a great help to get the team back on the winning trail.
The Stormers lost to the Warriors, Crusaders and Highlanders on tour, but Flick was happy that the team have learnt lessons and are starting to play some good rugby.
Obviously, tour was tough in terms of results, and we're obviously not happy with that. But in saying that, there was lots of growth and development within the group, and I felt that we started to play better rugby towards the end.
And it doesn't get much easier against the Blues, who beat the highly rated Lions team in Johannesburg last weekend. Fleck played lots of rugby against All Black legend Tana Umanga, who is now the Blues coach. Elisi is confident that his team will have to front up against a good team and with its current crisis that has hit the squad.
We're very excited to be back at home after the difficult 3 weeks, and obviously it's always good to be home with the DHL Newlands faithful behind us.
3 losses on the trot, a flu epidemic. The Stormers will have to dig deep against a good Blues team on Saturday and get back to winning ways. Craig Murray, SABC News, Cape Town.
Well, let's take a look at the fixtures when it comes to Super Rugby for round 5 of the competition and confirmation of the results from this morning. The Lions Sunwolves match kicks off at 5:15, while the Stormers host the Blues at Newlands at 3:05 tomorrow. The Crusaders were dealt a blow ahead of tomorrow's clash with the Highlanders when their captain Sam Whitelock was ruled out due to a concussion. Moving on to football now, SuperSport United caretaker coach Caetano Tembo says, or rather does not see the CAF Confederations Cup campaign as a distraction to their quest of surviving relegation in the AFSA Premiership. Tembo says it's an opportunity to refocus and rebuild the team. SuperSport face Pedro Atletico de Luanda of Angola in the first round, second leg match of the competition.
SuperSport are 14th on the log in the ABSA Premiership, but that is not reason enough to sacrifice the Continental Challenge.
The most important thing is to, to bring back the team, to our winning ways and play the football which we know, which we are used to, and at the same time get the desired results to take us out of the relegation zone.
Although it has been a strenuous year due to the competition, it would be very hard to ignore the positive effect the continental competition had on the overall development of young players in the team. Aubrey Mudiba and Tebo Mugwena admitted that playing on the continent had an influence on the Bafana Bafana selection.
I'm happy that the team is taking the CAF Confederation very seriously, because it's helping us as well to gain experience, to have that big heart, to have that winning mentality, the fighting spirit.
The match on Friday between SuperSport and Pedro de Luanda will be played at the Lucas Moripe Stadium, and kickoff is at 7 o'clock. Lebohan Tube, SABC News, Johannesburg.
A look at the fixtures of South African interest in the CAF Confederations Cup 2 that take place this weekend, starting this evening in Gauteng. The other takes place in the mother city. The kickoff between Cape Town City and their opponents from Mozambique, Costa do Sol, on Sunday is at 4 p.m. It's Mamelodi Sundowns and Bidvest who compete in CAF Champions League Round 1 second leg action also this weekend. And Port Elizabeth is gearing up for a double bill of Ironman this year. Next month is the 14th edition of Ironman Africa, and in September, the Half Ironman World Championships is coming to town. The full Ironman event next month has drawn a full house of 2,000 athletes, of which more than 800 are from abroad, the highest number of international participants yet in the event.
The South African event is a favourite of the top global Ironman athletes. The tough day out begins with a 3.8 kilometre swim, followed by a 180 kilometre bicycle ride, and finished off with a full marathon. The American Ben Hoffman will defend his title. Local stars Kyle Buckingham, Matty Troutman and James Cunnama will be out to take their title from him.
Expecting 801 international athletes, and that's an incredible increase from previous years. And I would say that is a direct result of the Ironman 70.3 World Championships coming to South Africa here in Nelson Mandela Bay on the 1st and 2nd of September. We're expecting for this event a total impact of direct spend in the region of 80 million rand.
The 4-loop run course has been voted best on the Ironman calendar. The whole race was chosen as the second best on the circuit. This year's full-distance Ironman also offers 50 qualifying slots to South Africans for the Half Ironman World Championships in September. Kim Daniels, SABC News, Port Elizabeth.
And as we come to the end of your Sports on Newsroom, do have a great sporting weekend ahead. We'll meet again on SABC News channels on Monday morning.
Definitely, Valen. It's been very good having you. First week working together, all smiles and a very happy weekend. Thank you very much for joining us here on Newsroom. We did weekdays between 9 and 12. For myself, Shante Yankee.
And me, Valen Kirtley. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.